Welcome to Aspire to Retire. I'm your host, Cheryl Nelson. Joining me today are Ralph and Tim Short from the team at Welcome Home Financial Partners, a local fiduciary firm. So good to be here with you as always, and their mission is simple: to provide you with personalized financial plans that align with your dreams and goals to retire confidently. In today's episode, we're going to talk about retirement realities, women facing the future. We are diving into a topic that impacts millions of women: the challenges of retirement. Now, for many women, retirement looks different than it does for men. Factors like lower lifetime earnings for some, time taken off for caregiving, and living longer can all make a big difference in how prepared women feel when it's time to retire. Over the next 30 minutes, we will break down some of the biggest obstacles women face as they plan for their financial future. Whether you're close to retirement or just starting to think about it, the show really will provide you with valuable information, tips, and real-life stories to help you take control of your retirement journey. All right, so ladies, let's explore what retirement means for you and how we can all take steps to secure the future that we all deserve. All right, guys, I love that this episode is dedicated to women. Good to be here with you guys again. And why is retirement for women, why is this particularly important to plan for when compared to men?
Mainly because they're going to live longer on the average.
Oh my,
all right?
Yeah.
But the other reason that it's important to me is because I'm the eldest of 9 kids. I've got 7 sisters. So I've seen a lot of the things that they have to have endured over the years that most women will, okay? So a lot of things that happens during your lifetime, you think everything's taken care of. You know, the husband said he did this and he did that, and all of a sudden he passes on and the things that he said that he had taken care of were not taken care of. So now you've got to figure out what you're going to do from here on out. Like, did he have life insurance? Who was a beneficiary? Those are some things that we have conversations about with the people that come in here, because it's very important to women that once they are by themselves, either through being a widow or being divorced, you've got to take control of your situation yourself at that point in time.
Yeah, and that's super scary, especially if you've been married for most of your life and you're used to having that partner there doing things together, or maybe your husband did most of the financial stuff, and you probably have women come in, I would assume, who are A, distraught after losing their spouse, and B, probably flailing because they don't know what to do.
Or they don't even know where the information is that they need to carry.
Oh, no.
Yeah, I'm working with a couple currently where the lady in the relationship still doesn't even know what she has in her own 401k, because the husband takes care of it all. Now, that's a little bit extreme, right? But it's really important, you know, things are going to happen. I have a couple that came in a couple days ago as well that have been clients for a few years now. And then he kind of dropped a bombshell on me last night stating that he has leukemia. So now his ideals have changed because she was still working. He's a little bit older, but she was still working, and he wanted her to continue to work until 65 just because of health insurance, right? The cost of health insurance, he doesn't feel like they can afford, which they can. But besides the point is now his mindset has completely changed. Now all he wants to do is make sure that she's taken care of. So it's really important when somebody passes away, if you're Social Security age, you're going to lose a Social Security benefit, right? Now, you're going to get the higher of the two. So if it's the males or the females, whatever it is, but you only get one benefit now. So it's really important, because women are supposed to be living longer than men, is that you've got to have all your ducks in a row.
And the other thing I would say to most people when they will come in and we do this situation, all of a sudden their taxes is a higher tax bracket than they were when they were having 2 Social Securities.
What?
Because, understand, now you're filing jointly, now you're not filing single, so that could mean that you're in a higher tax bracket. A lot of people never thought about that, and they get very upset when they find out about that.
I bet they get upset.
Yeah, but those are things that you have to understand.
Oh, so many things there. And it's not easy to have these conversations and talk about them, but we certainly need to, and that's why these professionals are here. So with women, how can we all estimate how much we will need for a comfortable retirement? I mean, as a woman, it's tough to do because I've got a husband right now, and I'm like, okay, I feel like I'm good, but like you said, you don't know what the future holds.
Right, and it doesn't matter what spouse you have, right? It's a lot easier to go at it as two instead of just one.
Right.
We actually get a lot of calls from this show with folks who are just now widowed, and hey, my husband or my wife had 500 grand. I don't know what to do with this. I don't know about the life insurance, and these are very long meetings because we've got to make sure that we uncover everything, and we need to make sure that they're still set up, because if the husband, let's say, passed away prematurely in their 50s, what was their pension options? Are you still going to be able to get that? A lot of people now, there's one company in particular that we've been dealing with a lot, and they've got 2 different types of pension plans. So you've got multiple options with these plans. So if you pick the highest payout, because what do most people do? They look at the highest payout and say, that's the one I'm going to take, instead of taking a look at it when it comes to your retirement plan, longevity planning, that kind of thing. If you take that single payout, the highest payout, and you pass away, that pension doesn't go anywhere anymore. So if the case is it was the husband and the husband dies, now the spouse, the wife, is not going to have that pension to carry on top of losing the Social Security benefit.
But the other thing a lot of people need to understand, it is a process. It is a paperwork nightmare to get all of the benefits that you have accumulated from your spouse, whichever one it is, because now you have to file this paperwork, you have to call this company, and it's not an easy thing at the same time that you're dealing with.
Absolutely not. Nobody wants to think about that stuff.
And that's why it's important to have the team, right?
Yeah.
And we talk about it all the time. Is a lot of clients come in and just introduce us to the spouse or the grandkids or the kids for their beneficiaries, so they know who to contact when that day comes.
Golly, okay. So important to have a team and professionals like you. What are some common mistakes that women make when planning for retirement? What are we doing wrong? I mean, I know there's things that are necessities for many women, like hair. You got to get the hair.
Yeah, Tim has that problem, right?
Yeah. Let's not go there. So I think one of the biggest things is, and this kind of goes both ways, whoever is the breadwinner, they rely too much on that breadwinner, right? So if it is the husband, and it's not going to be the husband in every relationship, but if it is the husband and you don't have your ducks in a row and we don't have the plan, so what if something happens to the husband before the wife or vice versa? What are things going to look like? Because things change completely when somebody passes away.
But I think the biggest problem that women will have in a relationship like this is you need to have that conversation before those facts.
Yeah.
Nobody wants to talk about, all right, do we have a will?
Right.
Do we have a trust? What are your pension benefits going to be like? Whether it's your spouse or whether it's your kids, they need to understand what is going to happen in case something does happen to you. If you don't understand that, then you're lost. And we have to pick up the pieces.
Yeah, and there is, so when let me say this again. So anytime somebody becomes a client, right, we've got this black portfolio that we put together for them, right? And inside of that pretty much has everything that they're currently doing or have done in the past. So that's a real good place to start for if it's the kid or the spouse, whatever that looks like. They can pull that out, take a look and see what's going on. The phone number for us is in there, and they can contact us and we can kind of start the conversation.
Yeah, a great way to get started there. We are diving deep today. It is time for a brief commercial break, but before we go, Tim, tell us about our special offer.
So the first 10 callers from today's program, pick up the phone, give us a call, 833-897-4845. We'd love the opportunity for you to come into the office where we'll create your very own retirement roadmap. And the best part is we'll do it on a complimentary basis.
All right, the phone lines are open. So if you would like some personal advice about retirement planning or to schedule a consultation, once again, call right now, 833-897-4845, or simply scan that QR code on the bottom of your screen. Coming up next, we will continue to discuss women in retirement. Ladies, this is a good one. Stay with us.
Imagine the future you've been wanting all along. A world where your retirement income is covered and you don't have to worry. Your financial assets are protected, and you have an experienced team fighting every day to grow your assets. Imagine a company creating tax strategies and legacy plans to make sure your loved ones are protected no matter what happens. At Welcome Home Financial Partners, we're an experienced financial team with the right professional licenses and an unbreakable commitment to making our clients feel like family. Here you'll find determined, friendly faces in a world filled with obstacles and problems. We help plan your retirement income to ensure you won't run out of money in retirement. We build in protection to make sure your assets are covered on all sides. We focus on growing your wealth to combat inflation and rising cost of living. And we design tax strategies to help you avoid paying back what you shouldn't while protecting the people you love. Our team never stops fighting for you. With an unparalleled work ethic, we work hard because we know your future depends on it. We're proud to help you choose the life you want to live in retirement. Welcome to your financial future. We're so glad you're here.
Welcome back to Aspire to Retire. We are diving deep today talking about women in retirement. And so, guys, let's get right back to you, Tim and Ralph. For women who feel overwhelmed by financial planning and they don't know where to start, what should they do?
Give us a call.
Yeah.
Because number one, that's kind of what we specialize in, is helping people understand their finances. So let me ask you a question, Cheryl. What is the number one thing that I feel like is wrong with the employers in this area? Is they don't give enough information out to people to start thinking about their retirement. How much did you learn in school about life, about checkbooks, how to do all these kind of things, about investment programs?
Yes.
All right, so
I know nothing.
People should not feel like that they're behind the 8 ball because they don't know these things. They shouldn't feel overwhelmed, which most people are, but give us a call. Let us sit down and go through our process to show you what you need to understand, because guess what? Most people have never been trained to do the things that we do.
Yes, like raising kids. I mean, why wasn't there a class on that? I mean, I don't even think home ec was required when I went to high school. So just all of the stuff that comes with that, we're all kind of flying blind.
But that's what I call Main Street learning.
Yeah.
Because now we're on Main Street, we have to take care of life and prepare for life, and nobody's actually said this is what you have to do.
Yeah, and the worst thing when it comes to anxiety, you know, you're super overwhelmed, whatever you want to call it, the worst thing you can do is not do anything, right? So you've got to take action. If you are concerned, if you feel like you're not as far ahead as you should be, anything like that, give us a call. We'd love the opportunity to walk them through everything, because there are ways that you can catch up. There are different ways. Instead of just piling money into a retirement account, there are other avenues to do that. You know, we've talked about it before, is, you know, if anybody takes off to watch the kids, it's probably going to be the mom, right? So they might be a little bit behind just because of that. I mean, we've got several clients that are that way, right? But the husband was out doing work, saving up the money. The wife took off for a little bit of time just to raise their kids, because most people in today's world, they don't really want other people raising their kids, which completely fine. But that is going to put you a little bit behind the 8 ball. But there are ways to catch up.
But the other thing too, is just not raising kids these days. Now it's trying to take care of parents or the in-laws.
Yes.
Okay, because long-term care and things like that. So it does affect the females more than it does the males when you start to deal with this.
Right.
So that's going to affect how much you have in retirement. But you should not feel ashamed because you don't know everything. The other thing I would say to you is, we try and make sure people understand what we're talking about. We don't try and use all the big fancy words and lingo that the financial services companies will throw at you. You know, we start talking about RMDs and people are like, well, what's that? So we have to explain to them what an RMD is, how it's calculated. Why is it important for you to understand it? How much do you have to take out? When can you start Social Security? Those are questions that we sit down with people about.
Yeah, that's why we need professionals like you folks, for sure.
And it's important to keep it simple, right?
Yeah.
I mean, we can pull up on the screen pie charts, graphs, whatever you want to call it, but at the end of the day, if they don't understand it, even if it's the right strategies, then what are you accomplishing? Because the worst thing you can do is sit across the table from somebody and use all the hot lingo, and the next thing you know, you get that wool over it. They're just like, huh? Yeah, so it's really important to keep it simple, and that's something we do.
Deer in headlights certainly don't want that look.
That's right.
All right. You know, another thing, studies are showing now that women tend to live longer than men. So how does this affect retirement savings for couples?
Well, one of the biggest things people are concerned about is outliving their money, right?
Yeah.
So us men, we're probably going to leave the earth a little bit sooner than the women. So when it comes down to that, they're kind of put on the forefront of, we've got to make sure that money is there for them. Now, everybody's going to be a little bit different. We never know when that last day is, right? But you've got to make sure that, hey, if they're living well into their 80s, 90s, maybe even in the hundreds, because that happens these days, you've got to make sure that your money outlives you, even if you want to spend it all before you pass away.
My goodness. And then, gosh, and then there's divorce and widowhood that we talked about too, can impact a woman's financial stability in retirement. And so we've already talked about this a little bit, but what else can they do to prepare for that?
What I would say is that, you need to have your own plan in addition to what your spouse might have, okay, just so that you have a little bit better control. Now, you can have IRAs on your own. You might take a part-time job, or you might start a business, okay? If you start a business, you can have your own retirement plan through work, so you have complete control over that, because let's face it, nobody's here to make sure that you are set for yourself except for you. You have to take control of your own decisions. It's your responsibility to make sure that you, just like you did for your kids when you were raising them, you took responsibility for them. Now it's time to take responsibility for you, because your life is going to depend on your decisions that you make today.
Yeah, and everybody lives in that comfort zone, right? And nothing good comes from that. If you've been doing the same exact thing for 40 years, it's comfortable, right? You know what it's doing. Well, see, you should know what it's doing. A lot of folks don't, but you've got to make sure that you step outside that comfort zone, because change is scary. People get anxiety.
Yeah.
But what you really got to focus in on is the facts and why people recommend what they recommend. Is it the most important for you, or is it in another advisor's wheelhouse? So you really have to make sure. Long-term care insurance, we haven't even talked about that yet, but if you're living longer, if the woman is living longer, they're probably more subject to long-term care than males would be. So that's something you got to pay attention to, because if you get inherited, if your spouse left you $1 million, but you got to live the next 10 years in a nursing home.
Well, I would say this to you. I have several clients that came in and said, we've got several millions of dollars. And I said, you've done a good job, so why are you here? I was talking to my wife the other day, and she goes, you know what? When you're no longer here, what am I supposed to do? I have no idea what to do. You've done it all. And he looked at me and goes, that's the reason I'm here. I want to make sure that the person I choose to handle it after I'm gone is the right mix for her.
Yeah, and we've seen that quite a bit, because there are a lot of folks, a lot of the men, the breadwinners, whatever they are making the money. They are stashing it away. They know what they're doing. They know their investments, and they don't really necessarily bring the spouse in on that for whatever reason, right? That's, their thing, not ours. But if something happens to the male, the spouse, the breadwinner, whatever you want to chalk it up to be, what's going to happen? Okay, yeah, they could have, $7 million in the investment accounts, but then they have no idea where to go. They don't know what taxes are going to look like. They don't know what now they are mandated to take place because of the government.
Right, and you mentioned taxes. So what are some tax considerations then that women should keep in mind as they plan for retirement?
That you're going to have to pay them sometime or another, because as long as you're making money, you have RMDs coming out for your distributions from your retirement plans, you're going to be paying taxes. And it may be at a higher tax bracket because you're having to just file single now instead of married jointly.
Okay, so this might be a silly question then. We talked about people losing their spouses. If they get that life insurance money, do they have to pay taxes on that?
No,
Okay.
that is one thing that you need to understand. There's no, at the moment, under current tax laws, that you do not have to pay any income tax on that death benefit.
Yeah, the majority of the time you don't, but it depends
Right.
on how you take it out too. So if you don't take it out as a lump sum, and it also depends on what type of plan it actually was, because there could be some tax ramifications prior to the spouse passing away.
Gosh.
But a lot of spouses don't pay attention to or take advantage of a spousal IRA. So that's also something that you can take advantage of.
All right, so much good stuff here. It's time for another commercial break. Tim, once again, tell us about our special offer.
All right, so the first 10 callers from today's program, pick up the phone, give us a call, 833-897-4845. If you've saved $250,000 or more, we'd love the opportunity to bring you into the office, and we'll create your very own retirement roadmap. Best part is we'll do it on a complimentary basis.
Love to hear that. Keep those questions coming and take advantage of our professionals and call for that advice now, or even schedule a consultation. 833-897-4845. Coming up next, we will feature some of your burning questions. Don't go anywhere.
It was the longest-running bull market in history. Everything was looking up. While inverted yield curves pointed to a recession, the market kept going. And then, if you're planning to retire soon, that could spell bad news for your returns. Our team can help you better withstand the bear market. Now more than ever, you need a financial professional to stand with you. Visit our website to learn more about our services. You can call or email our office to schedule your complimentary consultation today.
Welcome back to Aspire to Retire. It is our favorite part of this show. It's time to feature some of your burning questions. And we're going to start with Kaylee from Richmond. Kaylee says, I am in what I've heard you call the retirement red zone within 5 to 10 years of retirement. And I am worried about what I should do if the market were to have some kind of correction before I retire. Oh boy.
Yeah. So Kaylee, I agree. If you're within 5 years, you're in that retirement red zone, we really need to sit down, take a look, see what you're currently doing, see if your risk tolerance is where it needs to be, because it's going to be different as you're approaching retirement and in retirement than it was beforehand. So yeah, you don't want to leave most of the time. You don't want to leave all your money in the market because if within a 5-year period, if we have a really bad downturn, then what? Are you still going to be able to retire the way that you want to?
Yeah. All right. Susan from Fredericksburg says, I took a career break to raise my children and I am now back in the workforce. How can I maximize my retirement savings, and what are the catch-up strategies specifically suited for women in my situation? And we're talking all about women today in retirement. And this is something a lot of women go through. They take some time off to raise the kids, so they might not have that bucket of money in the 401k that a lot of others have.
Right. So what I would suggest to them, whoever it is to say, let's take a look at your budgets. Can you afford to put the most money into your 401k so you can maximize the contributions for those few years before you retire? Because the more money you put in, the better off you're going to be. But you have to understand whether or not you can afford to do that. And most people just say, well, I'm just going to put in this amount of money without thinking that, down the road, if you put $1 a day into a program, okay, and you increase it every dollar, guess what? There's going to be a lot of money at the end of the day versus if you didn't do anything.
Yeah, and it's important too that some 401k providers, some companies don't actually match. So then is there a reason for you to put money into that 401k? Inside your 401k, you're going to have limited options, right? So if your company's not going to match you, maybe you go out and do something different. Maybe it's an investment account. Maybe it's a spousal IRA. Maybe it's just a regular IRA. So those are things to take a look at. But if you are over the age of 50, you do have catch-up provisions inside of a 401k that you can use. And with IRAs, not quite as large, but you can do that as well. And those numbers change every year.
All right. Patty from Mechanicsville says, I have been told that I should move my IRA into a Roth so I would not have to pay taxes on it when I take the money out. Is that a good move for a person retiring in a few years?
Well, I am going to say this to Patty.
Uh-oh.
Number one, understand that no matter what you do, you're going to be paying taxes. Now, whether you want to pay them today or whether you want to pay them later down the road. But a lot of people will come in because they hear a Roth is tax-free income. That's the buzzword. That's what they want to do. And then all of a sudden they want to take $200,000 or $300,000 in their IRA and move it into a Roth. Well, guess what, Cheryl? That $200,000 or $300,000 that you converted to a Roth is now completely taxable to you. So how much money do you think you're going to have in your pocket when you roll $300,000 over to an account and you pay taxes up front? You're looking at about 50% with everything to.
Ouch.
Yeah, so you're converting it from pre-tax to after-tax, but they're going to get their money in between with their hands out. So be aware of that.
And Patty, if you're working, think about it this way too. If you convert your whatever the amount is, let's call it $300,000, convert that into a Roth, well, now you're starting a 5-year period where you got to leave it be, right, without a penalty. Yep. But also too is all of your other income that you're making throughout that year is now going to be taxable. So a lot of people look at Roths with the conversions and that type of thing because they feel like tax rates are going to increase. But what if they don't, right? Now you've paid a whole lot of taxes on your big bucket of money instead of just doing it in distributions later on down the line. So we've talked about compounding interest before in the
Right.
past. You lose a lot of that compound interest because of that.
But what I would say is there are ways to convert it if that's what you really want to do, but I wouldn't convert all. There's ways that you can say, I want to take a certain amount over and convert it and pay taxes on that. But understand that may put you into a different tax bracket. So we always sit down with people and say, if you want to do this, this is how much we would recommend for you to do before you get into the higher tax bracket.
So basically, don't go moving money around without talking to professionals.
But yeah, because especially with the Roth, so a lot of people they
Yeah.
want to get into the Roth, and it's sexy, right? Hey, I don't have to pay taxes on this money later on down the line. Well, that's true,
Right.
Right? If you do it the right way, but you're going to have to pay taxes on it now. So
Yeah.
you've got to make sure the strategy is right.
Okay. All right. Next question. Diane from Midlothian says, I am a female entrepreneur and I would like advice on managing cash flow and reinvesting profits. What financial strategies do you recommend for women running small businesses and preparing for retirement without a 401k probably?
I think the biggest thing, sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off, but I think the biggest thing is we got to see what that entity is set up as, right? So whether it's a corporation, whether it's the LLC, whether it's a sole proprietor, I mean, there's so many different ways to take a look at, but if you're a business owner, you could have special retirement accounts that you're not aware of. So I think that's really important to know.
But most small business people do not have a retirement plan because nobody's ever suggested to them. I have a lot of clients that come in and they have pretty good cash flow, okay? But their accountant never said, oh, well, you could put in $7,000 in this account and take it off your income tax and not have to pay any because you've reduced your
Wait,
taxable
how do you
income.
do that?
Basically, you're reducing your taxable income by contributing to a retirement plan. So
Oh.
those are all things that we sit down and talk
Okay.
to people, particularly small business people
Yeah.
or
Yeah.
local business
Yeah,
people.
wow, this is great. And I hate to cut you off there, but we are almost out of time here. So tell us about our special offer one more time before we wrap it up.
All right, so the first 10 callers from today's program, pick up the phone, give us a call. If you've saved $250,000 or more, the number's right there on your screen, 833-897-4845. We'd love the opportunity to bring you into the office and create these strategies just for you. The best part is we'll do it on a complimentary basis.
Love it. Great show today, guys. Thanks so much for joining us here on Aspire to Retire. Again, call us now, that number 833-897-4845, and you could be featured on our next episode. You can also scan that QR code on the very bottom of the screen. Please also download the Aspire to Retire podcast that you can listen to anytime. On behalf of all of us at Aspire to Retire, I'm your host, Cheryl Nelson. Have a great day.